Hello, trumpet players. I want to spend some time in this video introducing you to our latest book. This is 40 Trumpet Player Duets. What is 40 Trumpet Player Duets? This is 40 duets at the intermediate skill level. We have two intermediate skill levels in our system, and this is the first level of those two. The most obvious aspect of that skill level is that the range maxes out at G or G sharp. The highest notes in this book are either G or G sharp. Aside from that, the technical stuff like what scales they use or what keys, in this case all the keys, because at that skill level in my system we're playing now in every key. But time signatures, rhythms, things like that are all at that intermediate skill level. The book is divided into three sections. The first section is basically covering all the keys. And how far is that? That's up to number 20. So the first 20 duets are duets that cover every key. To accomplish that, some of the duets are in multiple keys. So like, for example, here's one called Time After Time. We have Time After Time in D, Time After Time in C, Time After Time in E flat, Time After Time in D flat. Okay? And that's how we got through all the keys in 20 and still have plenty of material. Now, I didn't do equal numbers in all the keys. I think what it was I had up to 3 or 4 we had equal, and then a little fewer duets in the more advanced keys. But yes, you're gonna get the hard keys an opportunity to play in them at least a few times in this book. The second section of the book is the more jazzy section. That starts with number 1, Coming Home. It's written out, instead of having triplets, I wrote it in 9/8. This is a duet that I wrote. Coming Home is a duet I wrote to memorialize a friend of mine who passed away in the 90s. I used to play with him in the Conrad Johnson Big Band. His name is Keith Anderson. It's in a gospel style. Then we have some others that aren't necessarily swing, but have a jazzy feel to them, like a cakewalk almost. And then we have some swing duets. And then When the Saints Go Marching In, I actually put that in here. So then we have the last section, starting on number 27, is the more experimental duets. These are chromatic. Why do we do chromatic? As an educator, I want my students to play chromatic music that is based on the chromatic scale. There's not a whole bunch of that. A lot of stuff that is chromatic is based on other stuff and isn't necessarily going to give you that chromatic action. What I do when I write like this is I'm writing a composition, and the tonal center of the composition is the chromatic scale. That's how I do that. There are other techniques that I use as well, but that first one that comes up, number 23, is one of those. Oh, not 23. What am I saying? 27. It's one of those. I said, okay, let's write something in the chromatic scale. And that's what it is. Now, does it sound educational? Absolutely not. It's a cakewalk. It's it's got that kind of groove to it. But it's the key is not a key, it's actually the chromatic scale. And I've got a few of those. There's also some more experimental stuff towards the end. The last duets, some people might say, like here's the very last one, some people might say that's not intermediate. Which brings us to a different point. This is a book for intermediate students, not to sight read, but a book for them to practice out of. This is an assignment book for students at this level. Once again, this is the third level in my system. I start with the pioneer level, the tyro level, and then the player level. Let's take a look at the other duets for this system. There's the pioneer duets, which have half notes, whole notes, quarter notes, and the range only goes up to C. This would be an assignment book for students at that beginner level. Here is the second book in the series, 20 Trumpet Tyro Duets, and we've added more range. We go up to E now, and we've added 8th notes, we've added 16th notes. Let me find some 16th notes. We've got 16th notes. And this would be a great book for the students at the player level to practice their sight reading. For me as a teacher, we don't want to be sight reading music that's at our current level. We want to sight read music that's a little bit easier. So this is a great book for sight reading for just about anybody that's not at this level. So what does that tell us for this book, sight reading? This book you want to use for sight reading if you are more advanced. Maybe you're a top high school student, then you use this. Maybe you're in college, a music major, you use this for sight reading. Maybe you're a professional trumpet player, you can use this for sight reading. Which brings me to the next point. These are legitimate in the sense that they're not educational. These are legitimate compositions. They are musical compositions. When I write educational pieces, all that means is that I started with the boundaries set for that skill level. When I compose within those boundaries, but it's the same exact process as when I'm composing for any other serious work. I don't consider the stuff in this duet book, or even the beginner duet book, I don't consider this any less serious. Serious in the sense of composition and theory and completeness of the work. These educational pieces are legitimate, serious, interesting pieces of music. They are genuine compositions. That's a very important part. I don't write anything, regardless of the skill level, even for the beginners, that I would be ashamed to put on my performance program or ashamed to put on a recording. And evidence of that is, you can just look at my recordings. There are plenty of beginner pieces on my recordings. Nobody has ever said, oh, why did you put that on there? That's just a beginner recording, a beginner composition. Nobody has ever said that. And think about what that does for your students. When the pieces they are playing, even though they are easier, are legitimate compositions, not just dummied down abbreviations of some other major work. These are, and not just some over-glorified exercise. These are legitimate compositions. What does that do to the student? They have access now to the real thing. They have access now to the real thing. I know I'm repeating myself, but I think that's an amazing thing. So yes, the 40 Trumpet Player Duets is a duet book of legitimate compositions. Some of these will be on my next album. I'm not making that up. Some of these duets will be on my next album, which I hope to put out in the next 6 months or so. I'm going to start recording them just as soon as this book is finished getting published. So, what I showed you there is the duet books from the system, from the series. They're educational duets, but they're not just educational. They're legitimate compositions. 3 in the series. There are 4 more of those books to go. I have other duet books. Celebrations is a book of 101 original duets. And this is actually quite a popular book. I think the copyright date is 2008. We have sold quite a few of these. It's not, right now, it's not as popular as some of the others, but compared to, I've got literally dozens of books. And out of those dozens, this is sitting on the high side of making sales. It's the difference between this book and the series is that it's all in one book. And in fact, there are some overlap. I need to say that. There are some overlapping duets between these 3 books that I just showed you and this book. This book is what made me decide to do the series. This book is getting more and more expensive. And because of the publishing, right? I don't say, oh, I need more money because it costs me more to put food on the table or whatever. That's not how I do this. I have a certain percentage that I charge over and above what it costs to make the book. When that cost goes up, I have to make my cost go higher. And that's based on a bunch of different things that I won't go into right now. But yes, this book is starting to get kind of expensive, and it's got a bunch of stuff in it that if you're a beginner, you're only using the first 20 pages of the book. And that, in today's age, when you can have dozens of books, that makes no sense. It made sense when I made the book, because when you know, in the old days, you had to have a book like the Armin's book, a book that was there for everybody. You had to have that because of warehouse costs and print costs and stuff like that. You had to have that because it wasn't practical to have 40, 50 different books from that same series or whatever. But we live in a different technological world today where it's possible for us to have multiple books, and it doesn't cost anything except for the digital space where it's stored, which is a fraction of what it used to cost to store these things in a warehouse. So yes, this book inspired me to go to write the other books. There is a little bit of overlap. Some of the duets in this are in those books. I have to say that because I don't want people to feel like they're getting ripped off. However, in most cases, I took those duets that were from here and made them better. I won't tell you how right now, but yes. Now we have another duet book that we just put out before the Trumpet Player Duets. This is the Trumpet Christmas Duets, 21 Christmas carols, and you've probably seen the video for that already. These are very popular Christmas carols, with the exception of two that I pulled out of a hat that I like. I wrote them because I like them. I expect this book to be very, very popular too. Now, our most popular duet book is the Trumpet Hymn Duets. And if these look sort of similar, it's because they're both from a system, I keep saying system, from a series. System, series, same thing. The Trumpet Christmas Duets is like part 2 of this series. This right now is our most popular book. Praise God, right? This Hymn Duets book is our most popular book. And why am I telling you about that? Because if you are interested in duets, trumpet duets, we've got a bunch of them. This is easily over 200 duets. When you put all of this together, not including the overlap, this is easily, well, maybe not quite 200, but you get my point. It's around 200 duets, original duets. And so if you're interested in these, I would like you to consider all of them. You know, maybe we'll put, they can have those things at the store where you can put all of them in the I think they call it a bundle or something like that. Put all of them in your cart and you get a discount because you have all of the ones in that bundle. Maybe we'll do something like that, because now we have 6 duet books with more on the way in the next few years. This is very exciting for us. Anyway, I'm talking myself hoarse. This is my first video, I think, in months. You can see I'm set up in a new position here. This is going to now be my permanent video position. I was having to alternate between lessons, and I don't have a lot of at-home students anymore, but I have enough that I had to tear it down, put it back up, tear it down, put it back up, tear it down, and it was preventing me from getting stuff done. So I decided to decorate this stuff. It's not finished yet, but I've gone months. I think it's been since last year, really. It's almost a year since I was putting videos like this out. And my throat is hoarse, and I'm just not used to it anymore. I'm stuttering a lot like I used to at the beginning. But I'm happy to be back doing this again. And we will have some educational videos coming out soon. I think I want to start with, well, we're going to start with how to get a good sound, because I realize I don't have that on my video list yet. But we're going to go back and revisit the sight reading stuff, because I was in the middle of that when everything kind of broke down. And I want to revisit that. I want to do what I can to help people with their sight reading. And it's just a coincidence that I'm trying to sell duet books. When you see how I approach sight reading, you'll know that I'm not just trying to sell a duet book, because I think there's a lot more to learning how to sight read than just playing duets. There's a lot more to it. If you want to be a great sight reader, there's so much more that you can talk about and what you can do than just sight reading duets. I think the sight reading of the duets is important because that's the practical side of what we do. But there's a lot of hands-on stuff that you can do. But we'll get into that. I'm just letting you know that we're back on course again. There will be more videos, God willing. All right. So God bless you. I hope you at least check out the duet books, and we'll see you on the next video. Thank you very much.